This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. What's good, y'all? It's season 5 of the Past BT Pod with your host, BT. We have a new season here, and it's time to get this show going. As you all know, we talk about sports. Sports won't be as big of a carrier this year. I think we'll be carrying more towards the stuff, and predominantly on the sports side, you'll be hearing more from the musical aspect, but we will still be talking about technical. We'll be giving you the video game content. I will still be going over the ass of the week. We'll definitely be passing the message. You'll be getting an angel number, and you'll get quite a few gems. So sit back, relax, take your time, don't waste your time. This is the Past BT with your host, Brian. What is up? What's good? How's everyone doing? Episode 329 of The Past is back. I am your host, BT, with yet another episode. I am going to have a little fun with this show because I promised that I would make this more public service announcement based. So there will be some prompt based conversation to occur during today's podcast. Yes, you heard it here first. It is not going to be our run-of-the-mill, boring, exciting, here's our topics and here's our conversation. We are going to be speaking on the behalf of a lot of people and a lot of companies. It will all be fictional, but it will all be fun. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at today. Like I said, I'm giving everyone good energy, good space. I know a lot of people believe or don't believe or whatever you may choose to with Saturn retrograde running amok. We're still in the midst of Mercury retrograde. Moon's going in different directions and just kind of connecting with people and checking in with ourselves. The mentals have been heavy for a lot of folks without saying it, and it definitely can be put into the forefront of how relevant that is. So I'm doing this podcast to kind of, as I like to do, lighten the load, set the mood, give the ambiance to those who need it, because sometimes we need a little silliness in our lives and a different way to do things. Like, for instance, I'm going to do something a little different with our angel number. You can read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to tell you all the lighter version of it is angel number 329's meaning, be of good attitude. So I'm going to start there. Like I said, I'm not going to read it, but to paraphrase that a little bit, it is better to have a good attitude going into things than to have a bad attitude and a negative attitude, and to cause that attitude and or feeling to spew over or to affect those around you that it shouldn't affect. Because sometimes we may or may not know it. Our feelings, our moods, our emotions, our headspace can I won't say be a damper, but can affect others without us trying. And we have to remember that sometimes in our lives and in our day. And I'm saying that to you all, but I'm also saying that to myself as I'm being in my usual fidgeting space without my fidgeting tools. So hopefully I'll have what I need as we continue with this podcast, because I probably don't, knowing my luck, because I don't put things where they belong. But it's okay. We're not going to let it slow us down. All that being said, for real, like, the words be of good attitude, it sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it presents itself. And those who understand that will definitely be able to relate to how important that is to carry yourself with the right state of the right, in the right mental space. So, like I shared last week, check in with yourself, check in with your body, communicate with yourself, and let you know how you feel. Meaning, if you are not having a good day, acknowledge that with yourself, so that way others can be aware of, hey, you may not be in the best of moods or in the best of spaces to address and or deal with other people's things because you're trying to deal with your own. Sometimes, and like I said, this might be an early pass message, but I'll share this because this has been something that I've learned of how important it is. As much as we want to be there for others, we got to be there for us, because if we ain't there for us, how the heck we gonna be there for everybody else? Just something to think about. And that consists of putting the good into you to bring the good out of others. So, like I said, do with that as you will. Run with those jewels and let that be a foundation to your day. A lot of stories have been added, or a lot of things have updated. So some stories, one story happened as I was in the process of preparing and going through the stages of doing the podcast today. So I will add that story in just a bit. But I have other stories or other things that have occurred. So I want to make sure I give those topics or those conversations their proper attention. And to start off, we are we're progressing pretty strong with the playoffs right now. As you all know, the Clippers, if you were or were not aware, the Clippers, oddly enough, were able to win Game 7 because, as many of you were or were not aware, the series had mostly been the battle of the home teams, meaning could the home team actually win their respective games to get through to the championship. So, or progressing to the next round in this case. Well, the Clippers were able to actually win one at home. And it was an interesting conversation that happened, or not even a conversation, but an interesting interaction that occurred where Paul George and Luka shook hands. And now the NBA looks like they're being more lenient again with players swapping jerseys, because Paul George wanted to swap with Luka, and Luka was kind of like, no. And the story that went around was, it's possible Luka didn't want to show off the dad bod, which could be possible. But I mean, you think about it. If you out there and you just got no shirt on, you like, I'm cool, just, swap with somebody else. Or I'll get another one and give it to you, or something like that. So, there's that factor. But Luka's going to be around for quite some time, so he'll have plenty of opportunities to, hopefully him and PG play for a couple more years. I don't know how many more years PG has in the tuck, but like I said, I like what I'm seeing. The the series are getting interesting for all three matchups. The other three matchups. So to kind of run it backwards, but bring it forward a little bit. Brooklyn and Milwaukee had already been ready. Brooklyn coasted through Game 1, and they were a little laxed on Game 2, but they were able to finish up Game 2. And then Game 3 came around, and Milwaukee showed up. It was in Milwaukee in the Fiserv Arena, so they played good basketball. Harden, they've already listed or confirmed that he's going to be out Game 4, which is today. And, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Game 4 is tomorrow. Today, there's only one matchup that's going to be on, which is the Utah and Clippers game. So that will kind of get them somewhat caught up, because they're trying to get it where they can get the schedules to be in sync, and then also have it all tied together, as long as they all have it work out perfectly to get to the finals, which is mainly the primary objective. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Don't have this as a tab, but y'all, like I said, I'm doing this the way I do it. The NBA, they've given the, as they like to call it, the key dates for the upcoming season, which to some is not really a big deal. To others, it's, we got some dates, we can put some things in perspective, which I'm always for, because it gives a clear understanding of what we have to look forward to. So as of right now, they're saying the key dates to the 2021 season. Training camp is going to start on the 28th. Regular season will start on October 19th. Playoffs, April 16th. Finals Game 1, June 2nd. Pending if they go to Game 7, June 19th. And then June 23rd will be the NBA draft for next season. I believe the and I might be freestyling a little bit with this. I think it's in 2 weeks. But the NBA draft lottery is coming soon. So we have that to look forward to and looking at who's going to be getting the number one pick. Because I'm not going to lie to you, I want to know, as a personal fan of Houston, what pick we're going to get in the draft. Yeah, so and I'm sorry, I'm a little earlier with it, but it's the 22nd. So June 22nd, that will be the official date of the NBA draft. Wanted to get that all in there to give you some dates and times to look forward to as they occur. Philly and Atlanta. Atlanta surprised us, I guess. Atlanta was able to play a good round of basketball for the first game, and then it was the Embiid-Ben Simmons show. There was uncertainty about about Embiid's health. He's been playing pretty good basketball. Right now, I just got a notification that Jeff Green is going to be out. I'm sorry, not Jeff Green. Danny Green is going to be out 2 to 3 weeks for Philly. So that could be a major blow. The X factor of Philly always will be Tobias Harris. Everyone knows that. Anyone who's a fan of basketball gets that. And that's just what it is. The Utah Clippers matchup, I'm going to say this. And I want to talk about this now while I'm learning to utilize the platform. On behalf of, and this is an example of my PSA, so I'm being silly, but y'all know how I do. On behalf of fans of sport, as well as fans of basketball who really understand and truly get the game of basketball, media personalities, myself included, stop giving accolades or throwing titles at people who it's too early. And here's what I mean when I say that. I respect Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. does what he does. He's good at his job. But bro, there's no way possible that you are looking at 2 games of the Jazz playing the Clippers and it's automatically he is the greatest Utah Jazz of all time, surpassing probably, if not one of the best 1-2 punches in the NBA history. And something that I'm going to say this today because I haven't said it. I haven't said it on the podcast, but I said it in my sports group when this conversation came up about how we title or give Mitchell this honor. It's hard to give people titles or place them in conversations of being this person or doing this thing when their careers have not finished. Tom Brady is still actively playing football. If we want to see and look at him as being the GOAT, that's completely fine. But let's let him at least finish his season first and then talk about how good he is or what we think could be better. But don't sit and say, oh, he's the GOAT. He's hands down, he's the best player ever. Like, even when Jordan played the game, we let Jordan play out his career and then the conversation of who, like, Jordan did it. Six finals appearances, 6 championships. LeBron comes in. LeBron still is playing, like, he's likely going to be playing basketball next year. Let's let him play out his career and then have those conversations or have that discussion of, I think he should be in the conversation of being the greatest of all time. But don't give people those accolades when they are still actively playing the game. And I'm saying it like that because that is an example of what they're doing with Donovan Mitchell. He has only played 4 years of basketball in the NBA. You cannot put him in the conversation of saying greatest anything just yet. I still have my love and hate because I was actively recording at the time when he came up in when it was him and Ben Simmons going against each other for Rookie of the Year. Still don't think Ben should have got it, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that was an inspirational year for Donovan Mitchell too. His rookie year, you get a team to the playoffs, and they made a decent run. It's huge. So I mean, we gotta look at it for what it is, and that's what it's about. So yeah, huge props on that. Big things by far. I feel like Phoenix always catches the bad side of these conversations, but I'm going to do it again. So I did it with the Lakers, and I'm going to do it again with the Nuggets. Congratulations to Nikola Jokic for winning the MVP of the NBA. He was the best player of the regular season. He had very statistical dominant stats. On behalf of fans of the game, we appreciate what you did during the regular season. Now, the reality of the matter is he has no fucking help. There. That we can end the podcast and we can wrap it up. But I'm saying that with an explicit notation, but I'm saying it with a true heart. The reason that Denver is not on full cylinders is because, one, there are a lot of guys that they let go that were key components to them becoming a better team. And that isn't not acknowledged or pointed out very clearly in the game of basketball. Two, and I hate that they made this statement during the game yesterday. This game would play different if Jamal Murray was playing in the game. And we really don't know that. That's not fair it's just not a fair conversation to have. It's not a fair, we're not giving the reality of saying that Chris Paul is playing good basketball. We're looking at it as if they had Jamal Murray, it would be a different series. Of course it would be a different series. We know that. That's a given. That's common sense. But to sit and say, oh, I think that Chris Paul not being on the floor is Chris Paul being on the floor but not having to deal with Jamal Murray makes this a very different series. You play against who's on the court. The Rockets didn't have Chris Paul when they played against Golden State. Do we give Steph Curry the pardon of saying, hey, he didn't have to play against Chris Paul, so the series went the way it did? No. Who was on the court is who played, and how the series went is what happened. End of discussion. We have to stop doing that, and it just makes it an unfair discussion to deal with sometimes. Phoenix looks great. Like, and now I got to eat crow, and I'm going to be humble in saying this. We got to give DeAndre Ayton his credit. DeAndre Ayton's looking like a basketball player now. I'm going to look at their series and make sure I don't skip over anything or minimize anything. They gave Jokic the MVP award during game 3 while they were at home. Great, awesome news, big things. I love it. Nothing wrong with that. Cool. All of that being said, I literally you could tell by looking at game 3, Jokic had a triple-double and everybody else disappeared. Michael Porter Jr. had 15. That was, that became a story. But it's like you also have to think of it as the guys who are all suited up to play have all got to show up. And if everybody doesn't show up, it becomes a problem. So I'm going to read off. Y'all know I'm the numbers addict. 11 points, 14 points, 10 points, 28 points, 27 points. Those were the scoring. That's the scoring acumen you got from your starters for Phoenix. Haven't even gone to the bench. Where on the bench, the highest player you had was Cameron Payne, who, as we all knew, Cameron Payne had the big quote unquote scuffle with LeBron, or with Montrez, which really wasn't a scuffle, but whatever. And then we go to the other side, 15, 4, 32, 5, 6. Austin Rivers got to show up. It's been said, it's been proven, it's become relevant, but now it's really coming to light that Austin Rivers has to be that guy. And I'm not sitting here saying, and I guess I'm looking at it now. This is the media side of me, and this is the sports fan of me too. I'm going back and looking at, I remember him in high school as a senior saying, I'm going to go off. And he went off and had a great game for the school he was playing for in Florida. Got to Duke. He hit he hit the key shot against UNC. Oh, he's going to be the guy. He's the diaper dandy. One and done. We know he's going to the league. Got to the league. And I'm not sitting here saying that he's been like a trail of his own shadow, but we haven't seen that breakout year yet from Austin Rivers. I think it was on the verge in New York, but it wasn't there in New York. And then I gotta call him out. And it's not that I want to call him out, but we gotta look at what I've already said something about Michael Porter Jr. I like Michael Porter Jr. as a player. But being down 3-0, they like MPJ and Aaron Gordon have gotta show up. Like they've gotta show up. Like we know, like I said, we know what we're getting out of Jokic. Jokic is gonna go out, he's gonna play basketball. That's his job, that's his role, that's what he does. But you can't play semi-decent basketball against a team such as Phoenix with Chris Paul, with Devin Booker, with DeAndre Ayton on his come up, with Mikal Bridges. Like you have guys that want to play and are ready to play. You can't play kind of sort of basketball against this type of team. And it's just, if you do, you're going to get exposed. And that's literally what happened, or that's what's happening with this series. So, looking at the series, I'm gonna say Brooklyn in 6. I'm giving. I think Milwaukee will get one more at home, and I think they're gonna finish it out the next 2 games. If it goes 7 games, that would be mind blowing. But I think, and also I also look at 2 because I'm gonna call it for what it is. Harden's game to game progression is something to keep an eye on too, not just for this series, but possibly the conference finals. I'm picking Philly. I'm going to say Philly in 6, only because I like Trae Young. I think Trae Young's going to fight. Trae Young want to show that, hey, I can carry this team. The only problem is after he gets all of his shots and after Collins gets all of his shots, who's next? That's something that I think about, or that's a concern to me with the team. I think Phoenix going to sweep. I don't know what it is in me that doesn't, and I like Denver. I love Jokic. I like how they're playing, but I just feel like it sucks because they put all of that work and put all that time into beating Portland, only to go on and like literally have a rough outing against Phoenix. Like the first 2 games, the scores weren't even. It didn't even show that they tried, but it just was not enough try. And it's early with the Utah Clippers series. I might be crazy for saying this. I think Utah might sweep. And I know and hold on, no. Time out. Let me backtrack. I'm gonna pick Utah at 7. Because the $1 million question of the true thought is gonna become, if they play and it gets down to the wire with the series, which Paul George and Kawhi are we going to see? Those are things that I think about, are things that fans are going to be concerned about with watching this matchup or watching this series. So, like I said, I got Philly. I'm kind of chalking the board, I guess you could say. Utah meeting Phoenix, Philly meeting Brooklyn, and that's that on that. If like I think projecting, what's today? Today's Saturday. Next week, projecting how things go with my day, I'll likely be doing a late show, but I'm inclined to try something. I may think into doing a recording while a game is on and have a little fun with that, because I think it would be interesting to watch the game and actually talk about the game as it's being played. Because that, granted, it will be a long podcast and may consist of a lot of editing. I don't know, but I want to try something like that. And if you are listening to the show at the 22-minute mark or whenever it becomes with the audio intros and outros, let me know, because I want to get some feedback or some ideas about what to do or how to make that a little creative. I talked about this already. The awards have been dispersed for different players. The only one that has not been mentioned, which everyone's trying to figure out, is the Rookie of the Year. It sounds right to say Melo, but the league, I think, wants to really think about this and giving it to Anthony Edwards. That's my take. That's my thought. That's where I'm at. I speak on behalf of the Past BT pod. So carry that how you choose to. Rudy Gobert gets his he gets the Defensive Player of the Year award, his third win. As I mentioned already, Nikola Jokic, he won the MVP. Huge props to him on that, because I know that was definitely it. Like I said, it was kind of a race between him and Embiid. Steph was in the conversation. The only problem was it just sucks because of when it's announced. That's what people get frustrated about. But it's like they've been doing this for years. Like when I still remember the year when Garnett, he got his team out of the first round, and by them getting out of the first round, he got the MVP award. So it's like it's gonna always have that connotation behind it, but it's basketball, so we can't like be mind blown or shocked by what we see. Tom Thibodeau won the Coach of the Year, and this is his second award. He won it in Chicago as well. And I'm while I have time, or while I'm in the space to address it, I'll go ahead and like I always do, and as y'all know, I'm always prepared with. I'm gonna throw some names out there to really reel this one in and have a little bit of fun for a second. So we got Tom Thibodeau, Nick Nurse, Mike Budenholzer, Dwayne Casey, Mike D'Antoni, Steve Kerr, Budenholzer again, this time with Atlanta, George Karl, Greg Popovich, Tom Thibodeau, Scott Brooks, Mike Brown, Byron Scott, Sam Mitchell, Avery Johnson, D'Antoni, Hubie Brown again, Greg Pop, Carlisle, Larry Brown. That's for, and Doc Rivers. I'll go back to 2000. So I'm naming you the last 21 coaches who have won the Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year is a gift and a curse. Here's why. And someone's probably going to listen to this and think that it's going to be literal, but it does not. It just means the general observation. Coach of the Year can lead up to you having a great follow-up year, or it can put you borderline on the hot seat. Because if your team does not show up within the next year or so, or that big battle of concern becomes, hey, we're trying to get a championship, or at least make a case for making it to the championship, and we don't, it becomes a concern. Wild example, but hear me out. You know a name that you won't hear come up as a hot seat for a while because he had someone that's going to keep him stably in the spot for a minute? Rick Carlisle. Dallas doesn't have to necessarily win a championship, but if they at least become a conversation of possible contenders, it makes it look better than them not making the scene to get to the next level. Just where I'm at and how I'm looking at the whole race. Other awards that were won. A lot of people were unsure because it looked like it could have been Jeremy Grant's award to win, but they were able to give the award to Julius Randle for most improved, which I think was highly deserving. He had a breakout year this year by far with New York, especially making it as an all-star. Jordan Clarkson won Sixth Man of the Year. What isn't there to say? I personally will say Clarkson has played with a bigger chip on his shoulder in Utah than he did when he was in Cleveland behind LeBron. And I feel like, never mind, because I'm almost thinking in my head that he played behind LeBron twice, but I'm like, nah, he played behind LeBron, but he also played behind Kobe. And Clarkson has been trying to find his way in the league. And I know I'm using that term a lot, but for him, it really was finding that place or that settling spot of, hey, I can come in and I can do work. And since he's been in Utah, he's done work and then some. And the crazy part is, I believe he's still in the 30. Like, that's something you got to look at with, and this is something I'm going to share too, because I want to talk about this before I get, so let me rush through something. I'm not going to rush through this, but I'll talk about, Drew Holiday won Sportsmanship of the Year, NBA Sportsmanship Award. And Damian Lillard won the Twyman Stokes Award for, I believe it's for best teammate of the year. When you look at basketball players, the 20s look great. The early to mid 20s look awesome for players. That late to that late 20s, early 30s, keep your eyes open, because that's when contracts get a little questionable, and that's when careers go different directions for a lot of players. We gotta look at it like this. We're a few years removed. Like in the next 10 years, I'm laying this as a layered statement because it's relevant to look at and think about with basketball. In the next 10 years, LeBron, Durant, Harden, Steph, Russ, Clay, Kyrie, Wall, Cousins, who am I missing? I'm trying to think of as many guys as I can think of. Maybe Bill. They're all gonna be. They won't be in the league. Like the torch will be in the process of being passed along. Like we literally, like what was it? This past season, Vince officially retired. Like, just pay attention to like the scope of the game is getting ready to be passed. Like to put it in perspective, what has it been now? Because this is 2021. I think Kobe retired in 2015. 6 years ago, Kobe retired from basketball. Now, it's been over a year since he passed. May he rest in paradise. But you really look at the game changing after he retired. Think of the next wave of the game when LeBron decides to retire. I'm giving LeBron 3 years, if that. Like, I think LeBron wants to play as long as he can. We know that. That's a given. That's a grant. That's expected. I understand it. I'm not here to fight that. That's not the objective of the conversation that I'm having. I'm pointing out or just wanting people to look at, we're getting ready to have the game handed over to another superstar. And it won't be LeBron. It won't be Durant. So just remember that and really and this is something I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, her daughter, just on a random whim. Matter of fact, my friend was on it. She did the year in review with me, as we said then. If you know, you know. Tomorrow, we hear the term "tomorrow's not promised." That's fine, but the truth and the reality is, the moment you get with people only happens once. That moment doesn't come back again. If the moment comes back, it's a different moment. So the moments we're getting about LeBron, everybody, oh, LeBron's trash, oh, he's good, oh, he's this and he's that. You're only going to get these conversations now. And if you have them again, they're going to be with different people in different settings, under different circumstances, for different purposes. Yes, LeBron has not had the most well-loved career by fans. We get it. But we also got to really look at it and understand that. Think of how the game has changed. Players got better. Stop. It's an unfair discussion with it, because it's we look at folks and we're like, they have to do X, Y, and Z, when it's they're doing what their job entails, which is getting up and down the court and playing basketball. Let's be understanding just once in our lives. Let's try. All right, I'm off my soapbox for that. That's basketball. Hope y'all love it. We'll go into stuff. No, I'm just kidding. Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather. Question became about when Mayweather knocked out Logan and Logan Paul fell, but it was he didn't fall to the ground, and it was almost as if though Floyd helped him to stay up. On Sunday, Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather fought to the end of 8 rounds in an exhibition bout that pitted YouTube star and boxing great in a truly what the hell is going on moment in 2021. Without any judges, the fight went without a winner, though Mayweather won the matchup handily, landing more and cleaner punches throughout. One Mayweather counter punch in particular seemed to have hobbled Paul, but a Paul clinch with some seeming help from Mayweather held him on his feet. The video of the stunned Paul had some believing that maybe Mayweather got the better of the bigger fighter in the ring, accidentally knocking him out, but holding him up to keep the fight, to help the fight go the distance and give the people their money's worth. Pay-per-view collection, 50 million, by the way. Just want y'all to know that. I'm seeing this narrative going around and they give some stuff for conversation on that. So I want to talk about that match. And then I'm going to have a little bit of fun because I saw the highlight go around of Brian Maxwell and Chad Johnson. The most interesting part of that fight was what everyone has been talking about. Chad went down. Brian got him on got him with a nice hit. And when he hit him, you literally could just see when Chad got up, it was like, what just happened? Where did things go wrong? type of observation. Like he did what he could. That's what we expected. But it was very. I think what got me was when he hit him and he stood up and you see him holding his hand up like fight the power, and I was like, "You in the wrong year. It's 2021. We're not fighting the power right now. We're it's a match." He went. He held it. He held through the fight through the rest of it, but I was personally a little hurt only because after that happened, I was waiting for them. I was thinking they were going to do a podcast that Monday and they didn't, which is understandable. And they ended up, they were taking, I think they took a week off because they were doing a season interlude, getting ready to go into season 3, I believe, of the I Am Athlete. So that tells me that on the next show, which is probably going to be Monday, they're going to get into that conversation. And I definitely will be tuned in because it pulled my attention in hands down without even trying. So that's all I got on that portion. So like I said, I had one story was a couple days ago. I'm going to share that in a moment, but I'm going to talk about this story because this literally just happened like a couple hours ago. Oh, late breaking. I don't own the rights to that either, so don't come for me, whoever y'all are. Denmark was playing Finland earlier today. I think the match is finishing up if it hasn't already finished. And Denmark's midfielder Christian Eriksen was taken to the hospital after collapsing during a match against Finland in the European Championship. A crisis meeting has taken place with both teams and match officials, adding that more information will be communicated. They gave updates and information. They played. They kind of set and toned things down for a second, and then the match continued, and they finished up the match. So he collapsed near the end of the first half of the match Saturday. Medical staff attended to him as his team stood around him, creating a shield for privacy. He was ultimately removed from the pitch on a stretcher after about 10 minutes of receiving treatment. The Finland players huddled by their bench and eventually walked off the field while Eriksen was still getting treatment. Eriksen was carried off to a loud ovation. It was not immediately clear why he collapsed. The Danish Federation confirmed on Twitter that Eriksen is awake and undergoing further examination. So he's stable, he's alert and oriented, which is awesome news. The last 4 minutes of the first half were played. There will be, and then they gave the break, and then they went into the second half. And different tweets and different sources were able to kind of pour out their support for this, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. I really, I personally am wishing him a speedy recovery because that is not a pleasant experience because we've watched different sports where athletes will be playing, collapse, and it's like, okay, are they collapsing and they good, or are they collapsing and it's like, this might be it. So it's good that he was able to, they were able to get him to a hospital, get him stable, things of that nature. A bit of football update, not the European or England football. It's the American football, and it is the football that makes more money than the NFL, in my opinion. Don't come for me. Not a conspiracy theorist, just a general observation. College football is deciding to expand their tournament, or they're looking to expand their bracket or tournament format to 12 teams. 12 teams means more money. 12 teams means win-win for the Power 5. I talk about the Power 5. If you have not been listening to the podcast, if this is your first show at number 329, welcome aboard. My name is BT, as I said earlier. The Power 5 consists of the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. I hope I got those right. There were other teams that were part of it, but a lot of conferences kind of defuncted due to others coming in and being the bigger of the evils, I guess you could say. You could almost take out, and I might have freestyled it because you got, let me see, SEC, ACC, Pac-12, yeah, Big 10 and Big 12. Yeah, those are the Power 5. Those 5 conferences will always keep money circulating through sports, primarily through football. Furthermore, they are pivotal in why the different matchups become what they are at the time when they do. And here's what I mean by that. If I get Oklahoma to play, if the Oklahoma Sooners plays Alabama in a game, the SEC wins, the Big 12 wins. How do both conferences win? Because we're not going to play in either of our personal stadiums. We're going to play at a neutral site. You want to guess what neutral site they normally play at? An NFL field. Some NFL fields will generate the revenue. New Orleans, I'm talking about you. Dallas, I'm talking about you. If the location and the process works out, New York, I'm talking about you. When they get to our favorite big time bowling events, our bowls, the Orange Bowl, yeah, where do you think that's played? When they have the Rose Bowl in California, the Rose Bowl is what keeps the Pac-12 on the radar. They're usually going to be on the radar anyway, but that stabilizes their placement on the radar. Just something to think about, just minutia to share with you all in how this is going to be a big movement and a huge wave. Because that just means that you're looking at, let me make sure I get this right. Because you have 12 teams, so that's 6. You have 6 games. If I'm breaking it down right, 2 of those games are going to be playing games towards the actual 8-team bracket. And then you look at, I got those 2 games done. Then I got 4 games that I'm going to run. Between those 4 games, I'm left with 4 teams. That leaves me 2 games to play there. And then between those 2, you run those, and then you get your 1 game as your championship game. Done. Bada bing, bada boom. And they all play at different venues. And you also spread it out because it's usually that time frame is going to expand over a couple of weeks. It's not going to be just within a few days. And like I said, I'm freestyling this without the article, but they're probably going to explain a lot of what I just said. College Football Management Committee will consider expanding the current 4-team field, which is a start, to a 12-team format when it meets in Chicago next week, marking the first step in what could be another historic change for the sport's postseason. The proposal does not include guarantees for conference champions. Instead, it calls for the bracket to include the 6 highest-ranked conference champions, plus the 6 highest-ranked other teams as determined by the CFP selection committee. There could be no limit on the number of participants from a conference, and no league would qualify automatically. This proposal at its heart was created to provide more participation for more players and more schools. In a nutshell, this is the working group's message. The proposal, which was written by a subcommittee comprised of Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, Notre Dame Athletic Director Jack Swarbrick, and Mountain West Commissioner Craig Thompson. It was presented to the entire group of FBS commissioners on Thursday morning. In addition to providing an opportunity to a larger field and increasing participation, Bowlesby was candid about another issue that factored into the willingness to consider expansion: the sting of being left out, because that is really what this is about. A lot of teams get put on the outskirts of not making it because they didn't get the record that could solidify them as being a top team. So adding those different factors in can get like a mid-major some exposure and could possibly show like, hey, we got a chance to be able to play against said team and show up and show out. We probably underestimated, we being the A5 commissioners, how difficult it was to be on the outside looking in on a 4-team playoff. I think that was a factor. There was certainly lots of consternation around those of us that were left out at one time or another. So I think that was an element of it. The 10 FBS commissioners and Swarbrick he swore he was a brick, must agree on a format when they meet next Thursday and Friday to discuss the topic in person for the first time since before the coronavirus pandemic. While the 4 members of the working group spent the past 2 years researching the possibilities to ultimately conclude that 12 teams provide the best opportunity, it's still possible the 7 other members of the group might support another format or take issue with the recommendation. And they probably aren't going to say anything about it here, but it's relevant to say because it's not being said. Your big boy schools being in this would be a big deal. So like I said, just read over this article and check it out on your time. And it kind of just unpacked different things from it. They're saying, and right now, so the agreement that they have will be in place at least until 2025 or 2026. So this, even with this occurring, it wouldn't be for a couple more years anyway, because they need to still fulfill the current 4-team format, which I think they didn't know how that was going to go, but it's gone pretty good. So it's like, hey, if it's working, let's stick to what we know and we'll make changes as necessary. So that is that on that, and that is where we are. And we're now going to transition over into stuff. And the first one, I thought EA got it right, but it looks like they didn't. This confirms or ties into why I am back and forth with doing cybersecurity. I've kind of been put on a I won't even say witness protection, but kind of been put in place of what are you looking to do with your career or with your future. And I will announce it on wax. So that way it's stated and confirmed here. I am really looking to do coding and put more devotion and time towards full stack developer, software developer, and just creating content in that realm. I am personally more of a software person. I like hardware. I am a fan of hardware. I like networking cables. I am all for dealing with Cat5 cables and setting them up. No big deal. But if you were to put me in a position to put it this way, with doing podcasting, I love the fact that the majority of my work is done software based than hardware based. The only thing that's hardware based is wearing a pair of headphones and talking into a microphone. I guess you can count the computer, but the computer's going to do whatever it needs to do if you put the right program. So that's where I look at it on that end. I say all of that because from the hardware and or software side with cybersecurity, controlling and managing data can be very tough. And I still do have that knack of wanting to learn that, because I am looking to still at some point push for getting Security Plus certified, if I'm, going to ever think of that side of the coin. I know for a fact it's going to come down. And I'm saying this off, just transparent with y'all. I would have to be put in a position of being with said company to say, hey, we need you to get certified in order for you to maintain this job. Say less. Book will be in front of me as I'm helping people with problems in their office. So that's how I look at it, or that's my space about that in that whole tangent. But I wanted to share that as we're at nearly the 49-minute mark of this episode. Hackers have broken into the system of Electronic Arts, one of the world's biggest video game publishers, and stolen source code used in company games, spokesperson confirmed to CNN Business on Thursday. Online forum posts reviewed by CNN Business and vetted by an independent cybersecurity expert shows that on June 6th, hackers claimed to have obtained 780 gigabytes of data from EA, including the Frostbite source code, which is the game engine that powers the FIFA, Madden, and Battlefield series of video games, among others. The hackers claim to offer full capability of exploiting on all EA services. They also claim to have stolen software development tools for FIFA 21 and server code for player matchmaking in FIFA 22. So they've got the juice. Brett Callow, the cybersecurity expert and a threat analyst at Emsisoft, said losing control over source code could be problematic for EA's business. Source code could theoretically be copied by other developers or used to create hacks for games. Anytime source code gets leaked, it's not good. Hackers can comb through the code, identify deeper flaws for exploit, and sell that previous code on the dark web to malicious threat actors. Player data was not compromised in the breach. We are investigating a recent incident of intrusion into our network. This is an announcement given by EA themselves. The EA breach was not a ransomware attack. They wanted a ransomware attack, rather. What are they talking about? Do not forget to do this. And I hate when they show these little ads that don't look like good ads. I'm going to look at that later. That'll be immense for EA's data. Like, EA definitely is going to be put in a position to really keep a close eye on their data and like how it's being treated or handled. And that's why a lot of your bigger companies are very protective of what they have, whether we realize it or not. That's why I always am very emphatic on how important it is to, keep control of your data or keep it under a good wraps without having it to be exposed to others. Because that's all you need. Once they get to your information, can't do nothing about it. So just that, like, I know I'm being subtle and being a little relaxed about it, but I really am being serious about like just knowing how to value what you have and or share online, because it's very key whether you realize it or not. Google Chrome is going to add an update for it's called the Omnibox, or basically when you're on websites, anyone who uses Google Chrome probably has never paid this any attention. But if you type in websites, and I'm going to share this as a tip because I always love sharing this. You no longer have to put www in front of websites. I don't know if anyone has told anyone this. Any of my old school IT people and my old school computer heads, they already know what time it is. But for the ones who ain't been made hip or didn't get the update, you can literally put ESPN.com and you'll get the website. You do not need the www. But what's relevant about this article is when you're browsing on the internet, you're going to see the full website's link in your address bar, because not showing the link can be alarming because some links aren't legit links. And I work with a company who makes it very key and very important to send out emails to check if people are actually reading or paying attention to what a link does if you click on it. It's simple to do, but it's challenging to think of. When a link is in your email or shows up wherever, because on our phones we can't do it, but from computers it's something that is very key to do. Before you actually click on something, just hover the mouse across it and read what the website says. If it is not the legit website, then you need to leave it alone. Here's what I mean and here's why I'm bringing this as an attention to what this is going to add as far as this update with Google Chrome. I worked for said company, and with that company, I would get different people who were going to sites claiming to be Pandora's jewelry, and it was not Pandora's jewelry. It was a company who was faking to be like them, and they basically having your information, because by habit, when we go to something, we're like, oh, this is a legit email. I'm going to just trust it and send it accordingly, which is why I'm going to emphasize to you all, if you have not done so, please manage or control your inbox. You should not have 3,000 emails to read. It's not good. Some of them, if you know they're just business oriented, if it's stuff that you need to unsubscribe to, unsubscribe from it. I know this is like a random tech tidbit or breakdown of things to look at, but I'm sharing this with y'all because no one really, it was shared with me, but it wasn't presented the way that I'm presenting it to you all today, because it's the only way that we can progress on how we properly utilize the internet, I guess you could say. So Google's been cutting down the URL in Chrome's Omnibox search for a few years, for quite a while, saying it makes it easier for users to identify trustworthy domains. It's now scrapped the experiment and will be now showing the entire URL as detailed in a developer document spotted by Android police. At one point, Google planned to remove the URL entirely and just show search terms. More recently, it simplified the Omnibox by hiding the HTTPS //www and only showing the domain name. At the time, Google said it was trying to make things simpler for the average user. They're hard to read. It's hard to know which part of them is supposed to be trusted. And in general, I don't think URLs are working as a good way to convey site identity. However, once Google dropped the www and m. from sites, critics on Hacker News and elsewhere pointed out that two different sites could appear identical, potentially exposing users to phishing attacks, among other issues. This kind of almost intertwines with the previous, there are two different types of things. All it takes is for a person to find one way to get into your computer and you're fucked. And that's where I'm pushing this too, because I'm reminding people, and I'm also still reminding myself, and it's probably going to end up being my birthday gift to myself. I'm going to buy a VPN program. I'm not sure which one yet. I'm hoping I can do it and make it become a thing of promotional use to tell folks hey, make sure you control and manage your data, because we don't really care about our data like we were supposed to. And being lackadaisical with your data, it can cause a huge effect without you knowing it. And that change is going to be live in Chrome 91 with only the HTTPS hidden by default. However, it's easy to show that as well simply by a right click or control clicking on the Omnibox and selecting always show full URLs, as Android pointed out. So that must be something that is here and I just never even noticed it. Always show full URLs. By control, by right or control clicking. Okay. I don't have it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It 9 times out of 10 is probably somewhere that I'm just not looking. So I will look for that and make sure I keep that in mind with browsing the web. And it also could be an update that I might not have done yet. Because I don't know if I have Chrome 91. I have. Let us see what the version we are using. Dun, 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 dun. Google Chrome. Oh, we do have 91. Okay. Well, I need to figure out what that is. However, it's easy to show. Blah, 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 blah. Oh. Right click. Always show full URLs. All right, I'm slow. All right, my bad. That was a slip up on my part. So if I uncheck it, whoa, don't search. Look, when you have tech moments live on the podcast, you can't deny how good this is. Okay, I see what they did. I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna always show it. So for future reference, to educate all of you, since I'm not the most well versed, I'm trying to do this on the fly. If you're browsing using your computer, that's when you start drawing. Oh no, I don't want that. Turn off. I don't even want you loaded up, sir. Okay. If you're browsing on your computer as normal, when you're going through whatever website you're on, you can just click. Normally people go to the address bar and just click and then start typing. What you can do is right click on the address bar, and then you'll have the option to change that information to put it as always show full URLs, which I will start doing now, because then that will make sure that I'm on the correct websites. So that is a tidbit tip for you all who are avid Google Chrome users. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, you use Chrome and you have a MacBook? Yeah, I do. I'm not that person. Like, I'm not as Apple heavy, and I've always said this, even as I'm about to talk about an Apple event. But yeah, Safari is a love-hate for me, and I know people who use Safari, and I respect it. I think it's a matter, and I always say this because it's relevant to think of. Safari is a preference and the interface. Like, I think I've used Chrome, or I've stuck with Chrome because I've known Chrome for years, and Chrome, to say what I was saying, hasn't done anything wrong to me. So it's almost like a if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing, and that's just kind of been what I've done or where it's at. All right, so Monday, I caught snippets of the event, but I didn't watch the full event. But of course, as y'all know, I love to get my 10 to 15 minute snippet of the keynotes when they come online. Well, the most recent keynote was the WWDC 2021 keynote for Apple and everything Apple. They talked about iOS 15, but they didn't tell us a lot about iOS 15.
Good morning and welcome to.
Everybody want me to not. They don't want this episode to go up. It's cool. If we not uploading it, then I guess we not uploading it. I'm okay with that. They talked about the new features of the iOS 15. They're improving FaceTime. It's going to be spatial audio. They're giving you the option to be able to do FaceTime with non-iPhone users, which was coming with time. They're implementing some updates with the Messages app. You're able to share things with others, which I think is going to be interesting, where if someone else is listening to a song, I can listen to the song with them. Like, they could be playing the song on their device and I can listen to it from my phone, and that's pretty cool. The fact that that's going to be and or remain encrypted is amazing, but I'm looking forward to how that all plays out. They're doing some audio improvements to Apple AirPods. They're looking to make it. I did see in the video that I saw where they were showing you how they're gonna give a better usage to Find My, because right now Find My is convenient in minimal aspects, but it's gonna have a higher usage or a higher gain in using it in things such as if you're, how can I put it? So right now it's gotten this accolades or its attention because of what's the name of it? Because of Apple, the AirTags, which is great. But now it's going to be like a similar feature where if you're trying to find something, you can kind of do like a track down to find it. I looked at iPad OS 15. They're bringing widgets over, which is going to be dope. You'll get giving people the chance to finally clean up their screen space. I love it. I think that's going to be good. So I'm in one of the few that thinks this could be the thing that could get folks like excited about using their Apple devices. They showed Monterey. It sucks because I've said this before. My Mac is capped on OSs. I'm not able to get any new updates for OSs. I can get security updates, but as far as actual updates themselves, I'm cut off, which sucks. But I am able to. It's made me contemplate and bounce back and forth of whether I'm gonna do another Mac or not, or if I'm just gonna chill and just wait for this. Like, I'm gonna keep her until she do me no wrong. I mean, until she do me wrong. And so far, she's been doing me great. So, you know, as the saying goes, don't break. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's kind of where I've been with it. They did show universal control, which is mainly a way of being able to use keyboards or mice across different devices, between iPad, Mac, or iMac, which that's cool. So, like, they did the interface design of, okay, your thing is on, say, your iPad, and I'm gonna drag it from my iPad through to my iMac while it's passing through my MacBook. Like, I saw that and I'm like, all right, this might sell me. And I'm saying it sold me, but I mean, I don't have, I gotta call her back. Of course. Let me let her know I'm called back, because Izzy. My bad, y'all. I am so sorry. Not something I would normally do. But yeah, we got the Watch OS 8 coming. They're going to be adding more features. I'm guessing they're going to add more interfaces and styles and designs. They showed you Apple Health, HomeKit updates. They did give you some looks and feels regarding the. You got to see that they're going to make more. They're going to make more use out of the phone. They're saying that which it's a little scary if they allow this, in having your ID information be on your phone. I gotta love-hate about that, because I get it, because we're going in a digital space, but you don't want to be too digital and become too risky, because you lose your phone, you lose everything. Like, some people already are like that now without having those things implemented. So to add that in makes it even more of a challenge. So it's just something to really look at. But yeah, I wanted to. I will be sure to add the link for the actual keynote. And like I said, I always tell people, if you ever want to watch the keynote or you missed the initial keynote, don't feel like it's the end of the world that you didn't watch the entire thing. Like, just go back and watch it, like, either through The Verge or through Engadget or through whomever, and then from there rock it out and get all your information in that capacity. That's how I would do it. Now, I'm not sitting there saying that that's the way you have to do it, but I've found that to work in my way of consuming it. Music this week has not been the most phenomenal. I've been listening to, I started to listen to Migos album, and I didn't really get too far with it. My friend, and you know what? I'm going to use this AirPod Escape or this music session a little different. Yesterday, I met some amazing people, and I'm hoping I'm going to make sure I'll share this podcast with them and talk about it. But it was good to talk with folks about life and not just what you're doing. sometimes we are so engulfed in ourselves that we talk about what we're doing, but we don't take time to just talk about life and how we're dealing with life, how we're learning about life, how we're learning about ourselves, how we're getting through everything. Sorry. And so because of that, it becomes very heavy to just kind of like, all right, I got to get through this. I got to do this. I got this coming. I got that coming. I'm trying to work on this and I want this all to like work out. But sometimes you just need that moment to relax and to breathe and to woosah and mama say, mama sa, mama kusa, like whatever it is that you got to do to get through whatever it is that you're dealing with. So it was good because like I'm sharing that because my friend who did it, Cree is, and like I said, some people call her Cree, some people call her Lilith. I'm still like, I know I need to like, I know everyone's, when rebrands happen, I have to be prepared for the rebrand because I'm still learning too. But in this case, it's like Lilith is evolving while having to be put in a position to evolve, and I love it because life has pushed her every which way, and she's just known like, all right, I gotta press through, and that's been her demeanor and her approach to it, which I love and adore by far. So I'm giving her huge props on what she's doing. Like I said, meeting a lot of the people who were there, talking with folks, it was good. Right before I left, I got one of the guys who I had met at Nutty Buttery. We talked and I was like, man, look, come out Father's Day. I know it's a 2% thing and it's a last minute. I don't have it. And I mean, it's tough because I don't have children, and I'm going to use the platform for this to say this. Next Sunday, June 20th, 3 p.m. where I'm going to make sure I look at the time and confirm it's at 3 p.m. We're going to have like a little kickback at Murphy's Law to play pool, to live life, to relax, to kind of get people's minds a little at ease. I'm not sitting here saying that it's going to be like the bomb biggie and we're going to turn up and go hard. I just want folks to know that like, hey, this is a safe space and we are here to mingle, talk sports, and just talk about life. Like, cause I personally, and I'm going to say this to acknowledge men's health, cause I've shared it before. Men don't get together and talk anymore. Black men don't get together and talk anymore. And I don't like it. And I'm, like I said, I'm not limited. Let me be clear. I'm not limited this only to black guys. I want men to come, period. Like, even if the guys want to come, if the white guys want to come, y'all come talk. Cause we gonna talk. Like we all about having a good time, and it's not noticed or seen enough because when we do it, it's a great feeling. And that's mainly what I'm looking for in doing this. So, if you're in Richmond or you're in the area, have an opportunity, come hang out for Father's Day. It'll be fun. I'm hoping I can get a table. I'm hoping it don't be like mad guys like, oh, we all gonna have Father's Day together and come play pool. Personally, if he was up for it and I would be open to him doing it, I would love to get my dad to come. That would be that would be the icing on the cake for my Father's Day gift, to either give or to receive, one or the other. So that's where I'm at with that. I have a pass of the week, I have an ass of the week, and I have a few minor yet meticulous tidbits to give about some messages to pass along. This will be a little tech related, but it'll also a little real life related. I didn't even know who's the captain of the team. So Keith Appling, who previously played for Michigan State, has been charged with murder. He shot Clyde Edmonds, who was 66 years old, on May 22nd. Appling had an argument with Edmonds over a handgun, and he fatally shot him multiple times before he fled the scene. Appling's mother and the victim were cousins. Appling has been in custody since his arrest on May 24th. Separately, he is charged with the assault in Jackson, Michigan, for an incident on May 2nd. It wasn't immediately known if he has a lawyer who could comment. Appling, who was a star at Detroit Pershing, played for Michigan State from 2010 to 2014. He also played basketball overseas and had 2 brief stints with the NBA's Magic. In 2020, Appling was placed on probation in a drug case. His record also includes a jail sentence for carrying a concealed weapon and resisting police. I send heartfelt sympathies to the gentleman who lost his life to this guy. It ain't cool at all. And I'm never a fan of, like, I didn't want to start with that one, but I was like, when I saw the story, I was like, wait, he did what? And it's tough because his reputation exceeds character. I know I shared that as a quote in another format, and I'll find it real quick while I'm thinking about it, because it ties into where that goes, of how you sometimes we say things and we carry ourselves to feel a certain way, but we aren't as good as we claim to be, and it's heavy. You know, the world is a heavy place, and we just don't realize how heavy it is for us until we really like step back and understand, like, it's being placed the way it is for a reason, and we need to acknowledge it. Presentation requires respect. That's where I was going with that. But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna let that be what it is. Our ass of the week. A $30,000 lottery winner got robbed after spending $20,000 on a gold chain. Yes, you read that exactly like you heard it just like I read it. A man spent $20,000 on a gold chain after winning a lottery. He was robbed of it at a patrol station in Detroit, Michigan. The man was identified as Jamal. He won $30,000 in the Michigan lottery, and he then went on to buy a gold chain. Jamal was wearing the chain while in the convenience store of the station when he was targeted by a group of 3 people. They tackled him to the ground, one who grabbed him from behind and snatched the chain off his neck.
Vicious attack at a West Side.
Oh, you know what? Now this one I'm going to allow. So this is the actual video. We're going to play it, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to our pass the message.
Gas station.
Thieves target a man because of the gold chain he was wearing. Tonight he's talking with our Tim Pamplin, who joins us from the scene with the night cam. Tim.
It was a typical afternoon here at this West Warren gas station in Detroit near Grand Boulevard. Customers coming in, filling up with gas, buying lottery tickets. It was a favourite spot for our victim, Jamal. Customer walks in, shakes his hand, a couple more customers behind. The guy in the black. Pay close attention to him. And his buddy, right behind. They're looking for some easy pickings, and Jamal is their target. I hit the lottery. Jamal won $30,000 on the Michigan lottery, bought himself a $20,000 necklace. You see, he's wearing it there. He's heard of people getting robbed for their jewelry.
Yeah, it's a thing. So I was just looking around, making sure nobody was trying to get my chain,
But they did get his chain. He walks out the store. The suspects were waiting.
So I ran back, tried to get back into the gas station. They had grabbed me, taking me down.
I should laugh.
A particularly vicious attack, punching him, kicking him, getting him to the ground, ripping off his gold.
They took off running and jumped in their car and took off down Warren.
The gas station owner says he recognized that tall guy in that black top. A few months back, he was in the store. There he is in the white hoodie this time. And his MO was exactly the same. Scope out somebody with some jewels. Here, this man walking towards the store, grabs his necklace and runs away. Investigators believe he lives in the area. They're asking anybody who knows who he is to please give them a call. And that's the scene on the West Side with the night cam. Tim Pamplin.
Wow. There's only another 2 seconds. The gold chain is valued at $20,000. The station owner told reporters that one of the robbers had taken chains from another customer recently. No arrests have been made. Fam. Priorities. No. You don't. Everyone's got their thing, so I ain't judging or knocking it, but wow. Like I'm sitting here looking at the audio because it played it, and I'm like, oh, it caught my little scene of me laughing because it was just like, wow, like, bruh. No, sir. Like, I'm not I'm not letting that one fly as like it made sense. Like there are those make it make sense moments, and there are those wow, like that was not choreographed properly at all. But in all seriousness, I hope his health wise, I hope he's okay, because the guy who got robbed, like he was a pretty heavy set guy. So him trying to like run from them, it looked rough on that end, and then also it just was a lot going on. So yeah, it was ass of the week for just different factors. Like getting the chain just didn't make sense, and then where it like there are time and place, like especially with us being in a pandemic, folks gonna do whatever they're gonna do because we are in a pandemic, or we're still trying to like get over the hump of whatever's going on right now. So that's my piece, and that's where I stand on those factors. All right, today's message to pass along to you all. This is a interesting story, but it's also like just a full circle of things. So one, I have now learned that my space and my level is the IT realm that I've talked about earlier. I'm learning that the networking has to be a little bigger. As the saying goes, you got to think big to get big. I was reading an article today that talked about 4 of the 5 big dogs in the IT tech world. And they were, so the term that you normally will hear thrown around is FAANG, which is FAANG. That stands for Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. You could almost be the only thing is Nike's not a tech company, but Netflix is. I mean, when I say tech, it's like referring to the digital scene of it. Personally, and I'm probably stretching what I'm about to say, I give it like another 5 or 10 years. Keep an eye on Spotify. Love or hate Spotify. Go through your thoughts and your personal beliefs about them. I get it. But Spotify is going to be a company that will be a digital haven for folks to get, in the mix with jobs. I'm not even sure. I might be freestyling a little bit whether they have stock or not. I'm not sure, but it's just something to think about. But anywho, keep an eye on those tech companies for a while. All 5. I said all 4, but all 5 of them. You can remove Netflix, but you can because they're part of it as well. And just knowing what's coming and where things are heading with the landscape of stock, with the landscape of business, with the landscape of the digital world as a whole. That's number 1. Number 2, I had a story, not a story, but I was talking to one of my coworkers who has kind of like confided in me, and we've had like a mutual bond of like, hey, let's do our check-ins. Hey, you good? I'm good. We good. Everything's good. How's life? And it's been very helpful to know that you have that. Like having the support while you're at work. Because a lot of times having support and talking to people through text is great. I don't deny it or disregard it one bit. But there's also like those people that you are working around that are like, all right, you in a space and you kind of evolving. Like I'm trying to evolve, and I can see and feel like you're getting through this and you're trying. I'm like, yeah, definitely trying. No denying there. But we've always been talking, and I've got a design idea that I'm looking to get soon. I got to do some designing internally first before I get the design that I want. But that being said, I'm looking to get a banner or a pennant. If anyone who knows about high school, you may see them in some colleges. They'll usually have like these pennants that will be on the walls of all of the awards that the school has won, how many championships, track meets, all that stuff. But they also have the ones that just shows the schools. In high school here, it's usually whatever schools were in your conference or in your division. For instance, with TJ, it was J.R. Tucker, Mills Godwin, John Marshall. I'm not going to remember all of them offhand, but all those teams all were in the same division or in the same conference to play against each other. Well, it's a company who I follow that makes custom felts that look, or custom banners with that felt feeling, and I want to put one of those on my wall. a friend of mine made a statement to me and we were talking and she just literally said it just as fluid. She was like, at Brian Corp or Corporation, you work on the best you. And that's been or is always going to be my mantra, even implementing the Mamba mentality behind it, but just an overall statement of we should be working on being better than who we were the day before. And I said that to someone today, and I've said it to different people. Each day we get an opportunity to improve on what we didn't do the day before. And we either can grow from it or we say, you know what? I'm happy in my little cocoon and I don't want to do more. And you have to be accepting of whatever consequences come from whichever option you take. So the message that I'm passing along is if you're happy with where you are, there is nothing wrong with that. But just understand if others are evolving, don't be mad that the world is that people are moving and you are still in that position of I'm waiting on that moment to come. I've been waiting on the moment to come. I am no longer waiting on the moment to come. I'm going to take the moment head on because it's time. And that's what I want you all to do. If the moment comes and you get the opportunity, grab it and go for it because it may not come again. I said it earlier in the podcast and I'm emphasizing it now. You meet people, you see people multiple times in your life. But the moment that you meet them in that moment happens one time. That moment can either be a great moment or it can be a moment that leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But even in that bad taste in your mouth, you may still come back and meet that person again and you could have a good moment. Or you could have met them when that bad moment occurred and you don't ever get another moment with them again. So just remember, moments happen once. Opportunities can come multiple times in multiple manners and multiple avenues. But moments come and go one time. If you want to put them in the same word, in the same bucket, that's your own plan, and I can't tell you what to do or what not to do. But what I am going to tell you is, if an opportunity lands, don't ignore that opportunity. I personally will say, from a living experience, the best me didn't exist because I missed and left opportunities. I skipped over things. I didn't want to do things. I was happy with where I was. I didn't want to be challenged. I thought I was in a good position. I wasn't looking at who I wanted to be or who I deserved to be. I just looked at what was. And I'm finally beginning to see that ain't enough. So that's what I'm here to tell you all is like, go for more. Give yourself more. You deserve way more than you realize. Don't downplay what you are or aren't getting. And I think people don't understand how pivotal that can become in you doing that. So that's the message that I'm sending you all today. I send you all love, life, and light. I know there's probably different ways everybody else says it. But I really want everybody to succeed and win and grow and evolve. So that's what I have for you all. I ask right now that I pray over everyone who's listening to this podcast, everyone who made it to this point of the show. I hope you all have an amazing week. I hope you all have an amazing journey. I hope you all continue to grow and evolve and to become better versions of you. Don't let anyone stop you from whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Know that in doing it, it's all in good work with good worth. Know your worth. Give yourself the worth that you deserve. Pat yourself on the back. Be happy with where you are and where you stand. These things I ask in your name. Amen. I'll take it easy. The Pat signing out. You have made it to the end of yet another episode of the Past BT Pod. I hope you gained something or walked away with some worthwhile information, whether it was related to any of the information provided about sports, about music, about technology, or possibly my personal fave, the Pass the Message. We want you to come in with an open mind and an open heart and walk away with something that's going to benefit you and carry you through your day, through your week, through your month, through your life. And that's the main objective here on the Pass. So I hope you were able to receive that. If you are looking to get find a good place to host your podcast, You can check out buzzsprout.com. And if you're also looking to invest in a microphone, a lot of people have their angst or their differences towards it. But I'm currently using the Blue Yeti X, and I've been using it for a little over a year. And it's still to this day one of my best investments I've made. And if I always give this as my closing tip. If you are a creative and you have the space to create, do not do your least to give your best effort towards what you're good at doing. Until next time, y'all take it easy.